All right, we're live. We're talking to Mike Murphy. Mike Murphy's got an Indiegogo out right now. It's only got a few days left on it, but I want as many people to find out about it as possible because it looks really cool. It's called
Oh,
Samurai and Dinosaurs, and just the name, just the name is the kind of thing that I think people would really be interested in. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your project?
sure, no problem. Well, the elevator pitch I've been using for Samurai and Dinosaurs is an elite group of samurai are dispatched to investigate a downed meteorite on the outskirts of a small feudal Japanese city. Um, so for film fans, I sometimes use the comparison of it's kind of like if Akira Kurosawa and Ray Harryhausen got together and made a film. So like Seven Samurai by way of like Clash of the Titans or like Valley of the Guanji. Like Harryhausen was like a pioneer in special effects and stop motion work. So it's one part action adventure story, it's one part revenge story, and one part road movie. And as the journey continues and they get closer and closer to the meteorite, time begins to crack and break down all around them, and that's how we start to fold in the dinosaurs.
That's pretty cool. So, where did you come up with the idea for this?
Uh, well, I've told this a few times. So I don't know if you remember, like, I want to say it was around like 2007 or 8. Like before the movie, there was the Cowboys and Aliens graphic novel that kind of got flooded into comic stores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like the publisher was like just over shipping free copies, just trying to get it as like the number one shipping book of the month. Like I just thought it was kind of gross. And my wife and I and Sergio's the artist, like we were all talking around that time period and just kind of taking the piss out of the concept, and like we just started coming up with as many like crazy mashups as we could. And at some point I said Samurai and Dinosaurs, and we all got a good laugh out of it. And then it was one of those things like there's just kind of the silence in the air, and like all of us were kind of like, well, that's kind of cool actually. And yeah, like, once the title alone was there, within, I don't know, a couple hours, like the basic framework of the story just kind of fell into place, and it was one of those things where it just kind of wrote itself.
That's cool. There's a lot of that kind of mashup going around. Uh, One of my favorite books from last year. I don't know if you've seen it. Spider King.
No.
Spider King was it was aliens and Vikings,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
it was very it was really adult, and that there was cussing. There was kind of cussing in it, and there was a lot of violence. But it was almost Saturday morning cartoonish the way they drew it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was a really cool short miniseries.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Who published it?
it was IDW, but I think it was published independently before that. I
Oh
think they
wow.
came up with the idea, and I think IDW bought it off of them. So how long did it take you to actually write the book?
It took me a couple months, like about 4 months or so. And then it took Sergio somewhere between 6 to 9 months to get it all drawn out. And it was just meant to be a book that we, submitted to all the usual suspects, which we did. And, of course, like John Malin said this too about Graveyard Shift. You get a big stack of rejection letters, and if you work freelance, you just kind of have to go, well, okay, that was that. And we just kind of stuck the book in a drawer, so to speak, and just moved on to other stuff.
Okay. Let's see. Tell me about the artist.
Sure. Sergio and I have known each other a long time, going all the way back to about 2003 or 4. And he's based out of Barcelona.
Mm.
Yeah, so getting him to do like any kind of solid promotion for this has been incredibly difficult, just because like the timing is almost always off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sergio's great. He's he is a comic artist, but like we primarily think of him as a cartoonist.
Hmm.
We did a superhero book before this, like in the early 2000s, which we might revisit at some point in the future. And yeah, like in the indie circles that my wife and I run in slash ran in, like he's pretty notorious, and the guy's a beast. He works really really fast.
I worked a little bit with eBay Canales.
Oh yeah, yeah,
He did a little 4-page short story for me,
nice.
and he's from Spain. those
Hmm.
those guys, they're hard workers.
Yeah, like as a matter of fact, when we started the Indiegogo, like the whole point was, okay, if we meet our goal, come February 12th, like you can take the rest of February to do the alterations to the book, because the whole point of the campaign was to like revise some of the writing and expand the art and do new pages and stuff like that. Um, so the plan was to give him through February, and then we would start the printing process around March. And he's already done with all of his work.
Oh wow.
So if we meet our goal, like it's pretty much just going to be in demand until March 1st, and then we can just roll into printing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So all right, let's see. So how did you meet him if he's in Barcelona?
Yeah, we originally met on Mark Miller's message board, like way back when he first launched it, Miller World.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we kind of sort of knew each other but didn't really interact too much. And there was another artist on there that I was tentatively working with on a superhero project, and that eventually fell through, and little by little people from Miller's message board migrated over to another message board. And once we were all kind of over there, Sergio and I really started talking, and just we had similar interests. And yeah, like since then, he's kind of one of my go-to artists.
Cool. So you've worked on another project together, or have you worked on
Yeah,
several together, or?
yeah. We worked on a superhero project that likewise made the rounds with submissions. It was called Nothing Ever Lasts, but if we revisit it and remaster it, we're going to change the title and change some of the character names and basically overhaul it the same way we did Samurai and Dinosaurs.
Okay.
Yeah, and like one or two other small things between then and now.
All right. Let's see. I'm gonna put on screen share.
Mhm.
We're gonna look at your Indiegogo. Let's see. There's that. And there we go. Is that coming up?
Yep, got
All
it.
right. So see here. I play the thing, but the sound I guess doesn't come through when I play
Oh, weird.
when I play the trailer.
Yeah, I mean the trailer's just basically me doing the pitch that I just gave a few minutes ago, so it's all
Okay.
good.
But it's on your YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
So
And
yeah, so we'll point everybody to your YouTube channel. Check that
sure,
out.
sure.
Let's see, but let's see. So let's see. Leak Room of Samurai. You basically explain the Total Claw, Jurassic Beast displaced in time. All right, there's some of the art there, and I noticed some of the things. It was kind of it was a. I always say this thinking that it insults people, but I don't think it does because I really like the art style here. It's like a cartoony, comic strippy kind of art style.
Mhm.
It's very stylized. You can see the heads are kind of a consistent kind of certain shape
Right, right.
and that kind of stuff. I think that's really neat. All right, so let's see. What do you got for paperless and print? What is this? Actually, no. Let's go to the first one. There we go. First tier is paperless.
Hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that. It's just going to be a digital copy.
Yeah, just digital. kind of speaking of Canales, kind of like what he and Richard did with Iron Sights. We knew that since we were new on the scene and we were going to have to work to build up an audience, we didn't want to go too over the top with all the various tiers and rewards. We just wanted to keep it simple and streamlined to the book.
All right. Let's see. The next tier is $20. That gets you one book.
Yeah, that gets you one printed edition of Samurai and Dinosaurs.
All right. And $25 gets you one of each.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then was it double your pleasure? Was it two
That's two
physical
print
copies? Okay.
Yeah.
And $135. What does that get you?
Yeah, so basically a couple weeks into the campaign, numerous people reached out and suggested that I start up a For the Troops tier like some of the other campaigns have. And so for $135, this includes tiers don't. You'll get 2 copies of the book, and 3 copies will be shipped off to the military via the USO.
All right, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. We like that. We like supporting our troops. All right, so we'll go over a little bit of we'll look at, here we go, some of the artwork here. Silver Mornings Past. Are you lettering it? Do you have do you have a letterer, or is he lettering?
Sergio's lettering it, and this is all work from the original edition of the book. Like, we've picked out a new font, and so yeah, like and some of the artwork's going to be revised. So kind of technically nothing that's here is finalized. It's just meant for the sake of preview.
Okay. And it's going to be all black and white?
Yeah, black and white with ink washes.
Okay. Alrighty. Is this your team of samurai?
Yeah, that's a good group shot of all of them. And also, I just recently did an update to the campaign that showcases each individual character.
All right, that's cool. All right. Got Keanu Reeves there, and is this just a guy in armor here, or?
Yeah, he catches everyone's eye. So that's Tetsuban Dorgan. He is a former soldier who has crafted a dragon mech suit for himself, and it's constructed out of bamboo and iron, and it's powered by steam.
That's pretty cool. I like that. All right. We got some more. There's the first dinosaur, or at least assuming.
Yeah, that's the big reveal money shot.
All right. Yeah, that looks really neat.
Thank you. Yeah, that's from a bit later on, as you can see. As you can see, he's down an arm.
Spoiler alert.
Right.
All right. That's really cool. All right, so how long? Oh, I would get everybody dizzy doing that. Let's switch back here. So, how long have you been into comic books?
Pretty much my whole life, man. The first thing I ever drew was when I was like 3 or 4. My mom got me a big chalkboard, and first thing I drew was Superman. It was just like the S was the body and a smiley face for a head, and sticks for the arms and legs.
And did you always collect? I mean, did you always collect comics too, or?
Yeah, pretty much. I get that from my dad. He got me into them as a kid, and it was that thing of, I always enjoyed comics as a kid, and then when I think I was about 11 or so when Batman the Animated Series premiered. Once that dropped, it was one of those moments where I was like, well, obviously this is what I'm doing with the rest of my life.
That's cool. That's Batman had kind of a simpler style, or it seems. I guess I say simpler. I'm not an artist, but it has a kind of style that seemed like it was that really played for animation.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And to this day, like Bruce Timm is a favorite, and Darwin Cook ranks as like one of my all-time favorite artists.
I'm sorry if everybody heard me chewing. I just had a peanut butter cup. I apologize.
It's
All
all
right.
good.
All right. So, what were your favorite comics growing up?
Well, my first two books were uh Gumby Summer Special from Comico, which I just found out as an adult was drawn by Arthur Adams.
Oh wow,
Uh, and the first issue of Sword of the Atom.
it's neat. Like because I collected in the '90s. It's neat
Mm-hmm.
because back then I wasn't really into the artists.
Mm-hmm.
At least when all right. So when I first started collecting, like in the late '80s and early '90s, and then I really got into knowing who the artists were. Like when the Image thing happened, all of a sudden all these
Right.
kind of rock star artists and reading Wizard magazine, and that's when all those names started coming into my head. And
Right.
then nowadays, I know a lot more about who the artists are, and I'll be talking to somebody. Oh yeah, remember this comic? Blah blah. And I'll be like, oh yeah, that was I had it was like a Rocket Raccoon #3
Mm-hmm.
from the '80s, and Mike Mignola did some of the art in it, or
Oh, wow.
drew it, and I was like, well, holy crap, I can't believe that guy that drew Hellboy drew Rocket Raccoon.
Exactly.
And so I always find that really interesting now looking back on it, and then I kick myself because I sold my whole collection
Yeah, I
a couple
know.
years ago.
Tell me about it. Yeah, it was one of those weird things where like those two books specifically were just like vague memories in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and I follow Arthur Adams on Instagram, and he just went through a phase last year where he was just posting all of his old stuff, I guess from like his closet or wherever he keeps his work.
Mm-hmm.
And he just went for a week posting all this Gumby artwork, and it was just this flood of memories. And it's like, oh, that was you. I had no idea.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, how long have you been Do you still draw?
I do actually. So the way things worked is, my wife and I, when we started our company, our plan originally was to balance freelance work with, self-publishing, and like that was the ideal, at least. And eventually it just became primarily the freelance work, and the comics fell to the side. So yeah, well, I'm primarily a writer. Like I do still do freelance illustration, like as part of my day job.
Oh, that's cool. So
Yeah.
now, okay, you said you do freelance illustration. So you take like commissions and that kind of stuff, or
Yeah, commissions. I like sometimes private individuals will hire me to do like a proof of concept book for them, or like submission pages if they're trying to like catch a publisher's eye. Um, but like little by little, I just came to accept that I was a faster writer than an artist. So
well, everybody, oh, they all are.
of course,
I write. It's a lot easier to write than to draw.
of course. So yeah, like while that's still my day job in quotes, like most of the actual work that I do these days is writing.
That's cool. Let's see. So do you remember who are your biggest influences,
Um,
writing and drawing?
okay. Well, on the drawing side of things, my biggest influences are Darwin Cook, Tim Sale, and Eduardo Risso. Um, on the writing side of things, I'd definitely give it to like a Morrison. And like I find as I get older, like I'm becoming more influenced by film than necessarily comic writers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like I study Scorsese a lot. I study Tarantino and even someone like Nolan, like the two Nolan brothers. Like I study a lot of their work.
Oh, that's cool. I'm repeating myself a lot.
No,
All right.
it's all good.
Yeah. I'm trying to work out my. This is while I work this out, while I work out doing these working these live streams. I try to
Sure, sure.
find my little quirks, trying to weed them out.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing with my
Trying to
YouTube channel.
get rid of my uhs and ums and my that cools apparently.
Yeah, I notice I go back and like listen to my videos and I notice I say I've been thinking a lot about a
Mm-hmm.
lot.
Let's see. So we noticed you have your books up on Amazon too.
Yeah, the again, like when we did the submission rounds a few years ago, like we posted it on Amazon and I think it might still be listed on Comixology. I'm not sure. Uh, but that is the old edition of the book, and it doesn't have any of the new stuff that we have
Okay.
for this edition.
And so that one's still available. Like if somebody goes there, they can still get the old edition, or how does
Oh
that
yeah,
work?
you can. Like pulling stuff. Well, it's easier on Amazon, but
Yeah.
like pulling stuff from digital storefronts is, I don't want to say time consuming. It's like, if I'm being honest, it's just that thing of like I got so much time in the day, and usually it's the last thing on my mind. But I know that at some point I should like pull both of those from those storefronts, especially if I'm going to upload this one in its place.
Yeah. So basically, so those are all digital. Those are all going to be digital copies. Well, I know
Yeah,
Comixology is
yeah,
all digital. And the same way
yeah.
Amazon's for
All the
Kindle, it says we're looking at it right now.
right, right.
Excuse me.
Hmm.
That was terrible. All right. So you said your a lot of your main writing influences, a lot of them are from movies, Tarantino and stuff. What are your favorite types of movies?
Uh, like I like overall, like if I think about our film collection, most of it is probably horror, with like crime being a close second. But in terms of like what I enjoy writing, like I'm kind of all over the place. Like I'm one of those writers who kind of wants to have a shot at everything.
Yeah, I have. I'm working on. Let's see. We're working on kind of a superhero-y book. I'm working with the artist,
Hmm.
and now we're working, and we kind of put that one a little bit to the wayside because we got something that's a little more relevant to stuff that's happening, and it's kind of a timely thing. So we put
Sure.
that aside. I'm writing that one. I'm writing a new one that's the artist's idea, but he draws it out. And
Nice.
then now I've got other ideas. I'm like, oh man, I write down the concepts real quick, and then it's like, all right, stick it in a drawer, and then oh, now I got this other thing I want to do. Put that right there, and hopefully get to them all. It always seems like there's always something else, and the original thing's not getting done.
Yeah, yeah, no, like it. I like growing up in like high school and even college, I was really bad at starting stuff and never finishing it. And you learn real quick once you start actually doing like freelancing for a living. It's like, okay, no, that shit's not going to fly anymore. You kind of have to stick to it no matter how difficult it is.
Yeah, it was. Oh, sorry. We're looking at my wife showing me. Would you type it in? She typed in Samurai and Dinosaurs and just looking at all the weird images that come up.
Oh wow, okay.
So there's one with cowboys and stuff in it. All right. So you like to write all kinds of different stuff.
Yeah, like tentatively, assuming that we hit our goal with Samurai, I have two other projects that I'm looking to launch before the end of the year. And one is a science fiction story, and the other is more of a traditional superhero story.
That's cool.
So yeah, I'm kind of all over the place creatively.
All right. So you've been working on this one since what? Since 2008? You said.
It started around 8 or 9, but it wasn't done and ready for submission till about 2010 or 2011.
All right, and then you shop that around. Who'd you shop it around to?
Uh, I mean, pick like a mid-tier independent publisher. It probably went to them. The closest we got to getting picked up was Archaea, the company that does Mouse Guard.
Mm-hmm.
We were in talks with an editor from Archaea, and she was telling us that they had 2 or 3 meetings where they were actively discussing publishing it. Unfortunately, that fell around the time that they merged with I want to say it's Boom.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm assuming a lot of business stuff changed for them as soon as that happened.
Yeah, they were like, okay, we're gonna cut some of this stuff. This one we haven't developed enough yet, so yeah, we can let that one go, kind of thing.
Right. So more Mouse Guard it is.
Yeah. Let's see. So, do you read any? Are you reading any comics now?
Yeah, I just finished Claws, the first hardcover of Claws by Grant Morrison. It's kind of a Santa Claus Year One story.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen stuff about that one.
Yeah, and the art's by Dan Mora, and it's gorgeous. So I finished that, and right now I'm reading Frank Avila's Spirit story that he did from a year ago.
Okay, that's so you're not into anything like any of the mainstream stuff right now.
Well, the mainstream's kind of breaking my heart, man.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, like my favorite, like I was one of those guys. My favorite book was Tomasi's Superman run.
Mm-hmm.
And the second all the stuff with Bendis started getting announced, I'm like, I know exactly where that book's going and what it's going to be, and it's not going to be what I want.
And you definitely, no matter where it goes, you don't want to know. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's you can look at it. You don't want to look at it right. Say, oh, so and so wrote this book. Oh, yeah, I know what's going to happen.
Right. And yeah, sure enough, it's like, like I know that dude's sensibilities, and I'm not gonna pass judgment one way or the other, but it's like I know what he enjoys doing and where he likes farming drama from in his stories, and that is so not what that run on Superman was supposed to be about.
Oh, hold on.
Yeah.
What the hell happened? Something happened here. Hold on. Yeah, but I was hearing the echo. Good Lord, you still there?
Yeah, like my whole Internet Explorer just hiccupped for a second.
Yeah, I was hearing an echo in my ear, and I thought I was because I moved to another page. All right.
Weird.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. All right. So what is there any? I want to put this right because you said you're not reading much right now. Is there anything that particularly annoys you? Stuff that you don't like about maybe a certain comic nowadays?
Sure. I guess the easiest one to zero in on, like the one that people kind of like, especially like I just saw another video today about it. Tom King is a weird guy. Like, I really liked The Vision, and I enjoyed Omega Men, and I even liked Sheriff of Babylon.
Mm-hmm.
But this Batman run, like, I think this Batman run kind of heralded like a sea change at DC and the way that they tell stories and how they're kind of walking back all the goodwill they built up with Rebirth.
Yeah, I was collecting Batman for a while, leading up to. I didn't get the wedding issue, the non-wedding issue.
Right.
But I was reading it and leading up to it, and then and it didn't happen. And I was like, I know that. While reading up to it, I was like, there's no way they're going to let Batman get married.
Right.
It didn't seem like that was a thing that was going to happen. So I kind of expected it. But then there was like, oh no, this story is going to be 100 issues. And I'm like, really?
Right.
They get 50 more issues to take care of this issue to take care of this. I was like, I don't think anybody wants to stick around for this one little story.
Yeah, man. Like I'm a trade guy, so I was reading it in trades, and I got through the first three trades and thought they were okay. And I've talked about this with some other friends who are writers, and I don't know what it is. Like I can't put my finger on it, but there's something with when he starts on the War of Joke and Riddles.
Mm-hmm.
There's some like the very first issue of that arc, like there's a change in his writing that I don't understand, and it was just one of those experiences where my eyes just kept sliding off the page, and getting through that trade was almost like homework. And that was the point, because the trade was like two storylines behind where the singles were. Like that was when I started noticing like the weird stuff that he was doing and the weird stuff cropping up at DC again. And I'm like, all right, so we're going back to that then, huh?
Yeah, it's I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that I see. That one I was okay with it, and then I just kind of lost interest in it. Like just a couple of issues before the wedding,
Yeah, yeah.
or the non-wedding, and then I don't know. I'm used to like I was collecting in the '90s, in the early or the late '80s, early '90s. I think I stopped collecting right after I graduated high school, and
Hmm.
had to spend my money elsewhere.
Sure.
But I mean, my thing was, I was into the X-Men at the time, and I had a run for probably a full year run where I was really into it, and then I had to let everything go. I didn't collect comics again, like really collect, until let's see, I graduated in '93, and I probably stopped collecting really around '94.
Hmm.
So yeah, just a couple of years ago, I started collecting again, to my wife's chagrin. I guess started collecting boxes again after I sold all my other comics.
Right, right.
Yeah, and I don't know. I see all this stuff that just it's why aren't they fighting supervillains? You know what I mean?
Sure,
You
sure.
you read, you pick it up, and it's like, why isn't there like some big supervillain that they're fighting? They're fighting, you know, uh, I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
it just bugs me. They're fighting politics, is what it is. They're fighting stuff that nobody really cares about. Nobody thinks is a big issue. Why aren't you fighting a guy with superpowers that wants to take over the world? I mean, they
yeah,
don't all
and
have to be that, but
right, and it's like, I mean, to get into the argument about like, oh well, comics have always been political. It's like, well, yeah, but comics also understood how to use metaphor, and they also understood subtlety, and they also understood providing a balance when it comes to different point of views. Like there, comics used to be able to walk that tightrope, and it just feels like with a lot of these like young buck writers, like all that subtlety and nuance and metaphor has just gone out the window.
well, it's like it used to be where it seems more now that the villain is more likely to be half of your readers.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Instead of picking an issue, they get so specific, and then they say, "Oh no, it's one of those excuses. Oh no, we're not. If you think it's about you, then maybe you have an issue." You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
They're fighting people that are on the news, but they change them just enough, and like, "Oh no, we don't mean you. So if you think it's you, we're not writing about you." You know what I mean? But
Right.
that's obviously what they're doing. They're picking, a social issue, and they're beating you over the head with it. And instead of like subtly putting it on the bad guy, it's like now the bad guy is everything we obviously hate. I was
Sure.
reading, who was I reading? I read a tweet by somebody. I think it was Sinkowitz, Bill
Hmm.
Sinkowitz. And he was he wrote a tweet the other day, and it was something along the lines of, "Oh, when I write this way, I'm a total. I think about being an asshole. I think about this, blah blah blah." And he's like, "I think like a conservative," and I'm like, "All right." So, spoiler alert: anybody who's a bad guy in your comic is a conservative. So, what
Right.
does that say about the people who are conservatives that are reading your book? None of
Exactly.
them. Your readers don't want to be the bad guys in your book. And if you're calling the bad guy your readers, then I mean that's alienating half your customers at least.
Yeah, and like for a while I was able to overlook some of that stuff, and I just took it as a fad, or oh well, I get it, these guys need to blow off some steam after the election. For a while I was able to overlook it, but for even someone like myself, who I consider myself to be somewhat of a centrist, like it's the whole Chris Rock thing. Like there's some stuff I'm liberal about, there's some stuff I'm conservative about. Even for someone in the middle like me, like with so much of the stuff that's on the stands right now, like it just screams, don't read me, you know.
Mm-hmm. And then the art on some of these things.
I know it drives me nuts. Like
It's no, go ahead.
no, that like my wife's an illustrator too, and the Batgirl panel that's been making the rounds the past few days,
Oh my
she
god,
she was so pissed about that thing.
it's awful. It is god awful.
Yeah.
And and there's no excuse for it. Like that made it to print, made it in the book, it made it to print, and that went to customers like that.
Right. Like I could understand the artists themselves messing up, but you're telling me the writer, the inker, the editor, the colorist, no one at any point was like, yeah, you can totally install a toilet and a bathtub on top of a carpet and you can set that stuff in front of a door. Like, just what are you doing?
You can totally lay that at the editor's feet.
Right.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, you could say what you want about the artist. There's an editor on that book, and the
Right.
editor is supposed to look at it, and they couldn't look at it and say, "Hey, look, take this door away."
Right.
I mean, that really. I mean, it wouldn't have fixed everything, but I mean that would have gone a long way for maybe people noticing a lot less.
Yeah,
One,
exactly.
it's like it's like shining a bright light on that one spot, and then once you see that bright light, or once you see that mistake, and it's so big, then your eye is drawn. Well, what else is wrong with the picture? Just
Right.
psychologically.
Right. And then everything else just starts unraveling and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that's bad and that's bad. Whereas, yeah, like if they just digitally took out the door, like your eye would glance over the panel and probably just move on to the next shot.
Mm-hmm. That door is just so interesting, and so, well, not interesting, but it catches
Right.
your eye so strongly.
Yep.
And I
Ooh, buddy.
oh, and then did you see the other one, the Xena Warrior Princess cover?
Oh, yeah, yeah. By
Oh,
Miss what's her name?
yeah,
Erica.
Henderson, and
Yeah.
that's another. And I guess it was bad in a different way, but it's like that. The point of your cover is to get people to want to read what's inside. And I
Right.
looked at that and I'm like, there's no way. Who looks at that and says, "Wow, that's amazing. I want to read that story."
You mean the horse with the derp face didn't make you want
Yeah,
to dive
and then
into it?
and then like, and it's another thing because I saw it. And my first glance is I looked at it and I knew who drew it just by looking at it.
Right.
So then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever, it's terrible. But then somebody else said, well, look at this and look at that. And I looked, I'm like, her leg is all wonky. It's like
Right.
on the wrong side of her body. And then like again, then your eye starts looking around. Well, what else is wrong? What's
Mm-hmm.
that? What's going on over here? And it's just terrible all around. And
Yeah, and it's just like, I mean, I think I think there is and should be a place in the industry for work like that. But like the publisher side of my brain doesn't go, yeah, and the place for that is on a property like Xena. You know?
yeah, we got Scotty Richard Studios in here, eh, Scotty? And he says, "How about a comic where well-drawn characters fight against crappily Tumblr art characters?" Well, guess what? That book already came out. I don't know, a few years ago, and it's not crappy Tumblr art. I guess it's they did a Conan versus Gru.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
right.
that was like in the '80s, and that's not correct. I mean, he's a cartoonist. He's not,
Right.
he's not. I mean, he did comics, but his style is cartoonist style.
Right.
But they actually did where it was that style grew against whoever was drawing Conan at the time. It was like a regular drawn Conan,
Right.
and
Right.
they actually did a few books of that as kind of a joke, and that's what you'd get.
Yeah, I mean, playing off of his idea, like I could totally see like something in the vein of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's just this clash of two different worlds.
I liked the theory that with Squirrel Girl.
Mhm.
I can't remember who. I think it was Zach or somebody put up the theory that she doesn't really have superpowers. She surrounds herself with She's surrounded by superheroes because something happened and she got wronged as a baby. So they're always there, like around her to solve all her problems, and
Yeah,
it makes her
yeah,
think she's a superhero.
right.
But and that one, I hate the kind of bloggy writing. They write like they're in a blog, and it really stands out in issues like Squirrel Girl and stuff, where at the beginning they have it's all text messages, and then
Yeah,
they have that humor just isn't. Oh, it's so ridiculous. I hate it.
I know. I don't. I can't stand that type of humor either. And like the thought just popped into my head. I wonder with some of these writers who come from like a press background or like a prose background, I wonder if they're so wordy because they're so used to like getting paid by the word that it's just ingrained in the way that they work, you know?
Well, and here's the thing, and I'm a relatively new writer.
Hmm.
I have a regular day job that I've been doing for years and years. I was in the military and that stuff,
Hmm.
and I got into starting to write comics from Zach because I was looking at all this stuff that was he was roasting, and I
Yeah.
was like, I think I could write better than that, and so that's kind of what got me into writing.
Well, that's cool.
And there was a point to that, and it completely derailed. But yeah, but when I see that kind of writing, it just drives me insane. And I know it was about the wordiness of it. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's to me, it's kind of disrespectful to the artist
It is. It
because
is.
you have all the words in the big ass word balloon. It takes up so much space where the art should be.
Yeah. Like I won't name names, but I just worked on a project for a client and he's a writer and he wanted me to do lettering for him and I get a look at the script and then I get a look at the pages from the artist and the script is just nothing but like overly verbose dialogue balloons and I I dropped the balloons in for like 2 or 3 pages just to show him how much page real estate he was covering up.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent me back a revised script, and I'm like, okay, well, he probably gets it, and this will be way better. And he deleted like 2 or 3 words per balloon, and it's just still
Jesus.
as bad. I'm like, oh man,
Tell them you gotta tell these guys to read the Elements of Style,
right,
Strong and White, because the main point of that is brevity
right.
and being concise in your writing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as a writer, like even with Samurai and Dinosaurs, like there were panels where I had dialogue where I just went in and took it out because like Sergio's job is to be the storyteller, and if he tells the story better than I would be able to by pasting words all over his art, like there's no reason for my words.
Mm-hmm. That's why you got to trust the artist.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
When I write my scripts, I do the whole panel descriptions and whatever stuff. But then when I give it to the artist, I'm like, all right, uh, you do what you want with it, because
Right.
really that's to keep the story in my head. So as far as panel descriptions, if you like it, use it. If you don't like it, as long as our stories get to the same place, then I'm fine with it. As long as we're telling the same story.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's some stuff I've done with Sergio where we've been working together so long at this point, like I'll just give him a Marvel style plot outline and just
Mm-hmm.
let him run with it, you know. But that's rare. Like that's pretty much just with him. Like for the most part, I still like writing in full script.
Yeah, that's what I got to. And one of the stories I got going, I'm gonna probably do because it seems like the Marvel writing style, at least how it's explained to me, I've never seen like that style script written,
Hmm.
and it seems
Hmm.
to me the way it was described to me, it seemed lazy. I'm like, you're a writer, and but at the same, you got to trust again. Then you got to trust the artist. So I'll probably for one of the scripts I'll be doing down the line, kind of a like a hybrid Marvel
Right.
style, panel description kind of thing. Because
Yeah.
sometimes even as a writer, you do want it a specific way. And in that
Yes.
case, when I would send it to the artist, I would be like, okay, for this, do this however you want. This particular scene, I really like it this way, and I think this is the best way to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Like I mean, there was a point maybe 2 or 3 years ago where we were sending out like four different submissions, and so I just didn't have the time to like fully flesh out all of these scripts, and that was the point where I was like, well, hey, Sergio, if you and I are working on this thing together and I trust your storytelling abilities, like here's kind of a rough page by page breakdown, but I'm going to leave the pacing and everything to you, and then I'll just go in and dialogue it once I see the art.
Yeah, that's the other thing, and I have I have to hire a letter. Well, eventually, well, he does the lettering right now,
Hmm.
but for future books down the line, I'll probably get a letterer. I lettered my little 4-page deal that I had with Eat with Canales,
Yeah.
and that was my first time lettering, and it was like I was like sweating the whole time. You think it's easy, think it's gonna
Nope.
be, oh, you're just putting letters on, but
Yeah.
no, it's actually really hard. You gotta place in the boxes and
You have to worry about
yeah,
readability.
oh yeah, and then like the artist I'm working with is Paul Dozier,
Okay.
who's on Twitter. He's at ZZombie13, just so
Hmm.
everybody can follow him. Uh, and he was telling me, he's like, look, you put the words in a certain way where as you read it, it draws your eyes around the picture.
Right.
If you've got this much going on, and that's stuff I didn't think about. I'm like, oh, so and it's short. The story I wrote was short, and there's not a lot of dialogue in it, but there's a
Hmm.
lot of caption boxes. So you got to figure out where place those and stuff. But go ahead.
Yeah, whenever I talk to like someone who's new, I always recommend like at least once or twice lettering their own stuff because it's such a crash course in how to do your job better, you know?
Yes, you were muted for a second. Still there?
Weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Huh,
Little technical difficulties. What do we
that's all
got
right.
here? Hey, we got Sporkman Studios. Thanks for showing up, man.
Hello, Sporkman.
All right. So we're getting close to the end of indie hour. We got about 10 more minutes. Let's talk again. Let's get everybody talk again about your project.
Sure. To recap, Samurai and Dinosaurs is going to be a 110-page graphic novel. Uh, if we hit our goal and if we go beyond our goal, there are tentative plans for stretch goals, which might bump up the page count a little bit. But barring that, it's going to be 110 pages. Uh, the elevator pitch is a group of elite samurai are dispatched to investigate a downed meteorite on the outskirts of a village in feudal Japan. And along the way, time begins to break down and fracture around them. And that's where we start getting into the confrontations with the dinosaurs. And yeah, like if you're interested in the base product, it's $20 plus shipping.
All right, and let's see. We're at 7% of goal. We're trying to get to 8,000. We're at 7%. 15 days left, so that's half a month to pick up that extra.
Yeah,
74,000 or 7,400.
Yeah, I'm gonna be hustling hard between now and the 12th.
Yeah, well, definitely. We'll definitely be retweeting you.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank you.
be retweeting you, and whenever you put something up, we'll retweet it.
Thank you.
So let's see. Everybody should check that out. Let's see. And you are Mike Murphy. You are the writer,
That's
and
me.
the artist is, what's the artist's name?
Sergio Calve.
All right, and you're both on Twitter, or?
Yeah. I'm Chibi_Mike, and my YouTube channel is the Chibi Mike. And if you give me 1 second, I can pull up Sergio's Twitter. Uh, Sergio is at Sergio Calve, all one word, and his last name is Calvet.
All right, I will definitely check out his Twitter. Check him out. I love this cover art here. Is this the actual cover of the book here, the Samurai and Dinosaurs thing?
That was the original printing. For the revised edition, we wanted to keep the essence of it, but we wanted to make the T-Rex a bit more menacing. So I think in one of the updates I posted the new cover, but if not, I know I've definitely posted it numerous times on my Twitter feed.
Okay. Now, I saw the guy has his arm cut off. This isn't an all ages book, or?
No, in a video I filmed, I think yesterday or the day before, I labeled it as somewhere around PG-13.
Okay. So that's a most ages.
Yeah, like there's some violence in there, but it's nothing that you would see in like an R-rated film, you know?
Okay, yeah. So there it is. Get some more. Checking out the art again here. Again, I really think I love this kind of cartoony style.
Yeah, like that panel in particular can't captures so much of what we were going for the Harryhausen look.
With the Brontosaurus.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. That's a neat like reveal panel too.
yeah, totally. I mean, ever since Jurassic Park, like you have to have one of those shots.
Yeah, we got Scotty Richards suggests there should be some Japanese calligraphy on the cover.
Yeah, the one of the main influences we talked about heading into the book was he wanted to capture the feel of like Japanese scroll art.
Mm-hmm.
And he tapped into a bit of what Stan Sakai does with Usagi Yojimbo as well.
That's really cool. Yeah. So no samurai rabbits in here though. I can see.
No samurai rabbits. Just a dragon mech suit.
Yeah, that's a really neat thing. The mech suit. I'm bouncing around on here.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's see. Trying not to get everybody dizzy. There we go. There's your dragon samurai mech suit.
Right.
Right in over here. Alrighty. So in this one, and you said you're gonna have. Let's see. This ends in this ends in 15 days, but you're doing the what is it called, the extended.
Well, no, actually, like this is kind of it. It's been running since the middle of December. That was kind of the only window of time we had available because Sergio's got a couple projects lined up for the spring.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew we were going to take a hit with December with the holidays, but I don't know. Like we just figured we would take the shot.
I wonder how much of that shutdown, because I was straight up, I didn't have any because of the shutdown that affected me personally.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of books. There are a couple of books that I have to kind of put on the back burner as far as wanting to get because of that. So I'm wondering if that actually hurt a lot some of these campaigns too.
Yeah, I've talked to a few of the other people who are starting or started Indiegogo campaigns, and yeah, it's one part the holidays. I would definitely not suggest, if you don't have to, don't launch before the holidays. And yeah, I'd say the shutdown probably had an effect.
All right. Well, let's hope we can get as many eyes on this as possible. Let's see. Yeah, hopefully we get as many eyes on this as possible. I want to keep retweeting because this looks like a really cool, really fun project.
Yeah, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I definitely like the style, and the story is the story is very. It's a good adventure, interesting idea. If I were doing Samurai and Dinosaurs, I would have 4 dinosaurs who are samurai who were trained by another animal. And
Right.
no, but it looks really cool. Let's see. I'd play the video again, but for some reason, whenever I do this, the sound doesn't come through when I'm doing the share screen.
Right.
But
Yeah, no.
but everybody, again, you can go to Mike Murphy's Twitter. I'm sorry, his YouTube, and you can see it there, or you can go right to into the Indiegogo, which I'm sure he would prefer, because then
Yeah, of
maybe
course.
you'd look at it and give him a little money for it. So
We're
that's
looking
definitely.
for we're looking for customers, and we'd be grateful.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure.
It was a really good interview, and hopefully we can get as many eyes as we can on it because it looks really cool. It's definitely a project that that I would like.
Thank you.
All right. So you have a good night, and everybody else, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the little bell thing, and check me out on Twitter. Check him out on Twitter. Check us all out on Twitter and everybody else on social media. All right. So you all have a good night.
Later.
Later.